Last time, I promised you another everyday machine you've never really looked inside. So here it is, sitting on your counter right now. The little smart speaker you talk to every single day. And here's the thing about it. It can hear you from across the room. So somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a quiet little worry. Is this thing listening to everything I say? Is it recording me right now? It's the most common question people have about these devices, and almost nobody answers it straight. You get one of two stories. Either it's spying on you and selling your secrets, pure fear, no explanation. Or it's a glossy, we really care about your privacy, pure reassurance, no explanation. Both are useless because neither one tells you what the machine actually does. So today, we're gonna open it up and look. And the honest answer turns out to be more interesting than either story. Your smart speaker is not a spy with a tape recorder running, but it's not a sealed box that hears nothing either. The truth sits in between. And once you see the actual machine inside, the scary version and the sales pitch version both fall apart. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where the line is between listening and recording. And you'll understand this thing better than almost everyone who owns one. No hype, no doom, just how it works. Before we crack it open, we need to get 3 words straight, because the whole misunderstanding lives in the gap between them. People use one word, listening, to mean 3 completely different things. So let's separate them. The first word is listening. Listening just means the microphones are turning sound into a signal and something is scanning that signal. That's it. No copycat. The second word is recording. Recording means saving that audio, keeping it so it still exists after the moment has passed. And the third word is uploading. Uploading means sending that audio off the device, out of your house, to a computer somewhere else, the cloud. Now, here's the part that dissolves the whole fear. Your smart speaker is doing the first one, listening, all the time. But it is not doing the second and third ones, recording and uploading, until one specific thing happens. It hears its wake word. Alexa, hey Google, hey Siri. Think of it less like a hidden tape recorder and more like a guard dog. A guard dog hears everything in the house, every footstep, every word, the television, the dishwasher, but it's trained to ignore all of it and do exactly nothing until it hears one particular sound, its name. Everything else washes straight over it and is gone. Your speaker listens the way that dog listens. It hears the room, and it's built to forget almost all of it on purpose, thousands of times a minute, while it waits for one word. So let's start where the sound comes in. The first surprise when you open one of these up is that there isn't one microphone inside. There's an array of them, several small microphones spread out in a pattern. And there's a clever reason for that. When you speak, your voice reaches each of those microphones at a very slightly different moment because each mic is a different distance from your mouth. On its own, that sounds useless, but the device can compare those tiny timing differences and work out which direction your voice is coming from. And once it knows the direction you're in, it can do something called beamforming. It electronically focuses its hearing toward you and turns down everything coming from other directions. It's the way you can pick out one friend's voice across a noisy room by aiming your attention at them. The speaker aims its attention at whoever's talking and leans away from the television, the fan, the traffic outside. On top of that, it runs noise reduction and echo cancellation, which is the trick that lets it still hear you say the wake word even while it's playing its own music loudly. It knows what it's playing, so it can subtract its own sound from what the microphones pick up. Put all of that together, and you get a clean stream of your voice pulled out of a messy room from the other side of it. That's the raw material. Now, what does it do with that stream? Here's where the magic and the reassurance actually live. That clean stream of your voice is not being saved. It flows into a tiny holding space inside the chip, a buffer that only ever holds the last few seconds of sound, and it's constantly overwriting itself. Think of a security camera that only ever keeps the last few seconds of footage. Everything older is written over again and again forever. So at any instant, the speaker holds a few seconds of sound, and a moment later, that exact audio no longer exists anywhere. This is the whole reason always listening does not mean always saving. The sound is looked at and thrown away, looked at and thrown away, thousands of times without ever being kept. But looked at by what? By a tiny piece of software with one job in life, to answer a single question over and over. Does this sound like the wake word? This is called keyword spotting. It's a small neural network, a little pattern matcher, trained on one specific phrase and nothing else. And when I say small, I mean small. The giant intelligence that actually understands language, the one that works out what you said and answers you, lives far away in the cloud, and it's enormous. This little on-device model is a rounding error next to it, small enough to run on a dedicated low-power chip inside the speaker, sipping the tiniest trickle of power so it can run every second of every day without getting tired or hot. Apple runs its Hey Siri detector on a small, always-on coprocessor, precisely so the main processor doesn't have to stay awake all day just to listen for those two words. Amazon built custom silicon for it, a little neural chip that Amazon says does the job at roughly 20 times less power than its previous generation. Google runs its detector on a low-power on-device chip too. Different companies, same idea. And here's the beautiful part of what this tiny brain is doing. It is not transcribing you. It is not understanding you. It doesn't know English. It's just watching the shape of the sound go by, checking each little slice against the one pattern it was trained on. As one description nicely puts it, all your other speech passes through the device like water through a strainer, and only the wake word gets caught.
So the little detector is scanning, slice after slice, and for almost all of them, the answer is nope, not the wake word, and that audio is gone. But it isn't really answering a flat yes or no. Every moment, it produces a score, a confidence level, a sense of how much the recent sound resembles the wake word. Most of the time, that score sits low, and the device is set with a threshold, a line. As long as the score stays under the line, nothing happens. It just keeps listening and forgetting. But the instant the score crosses that line, the moment the detector is confident enough that it just heard its name, three things happen fast. First, it shows you. The device lights up its indicator, a glow, a pulse of light. This isn't decoration. It's the honest signal that it has woken up and is now paying real attention. Google says it plainly. When the microphone is on and sending audio, the device gives you a clear visual indicator. If that light is off, it hasn't woken. Second, now and only now, it sends audio out to the cloud. And here's the precise part that matters. It does not send your whole day. It doesn't even just send whatever comes after the wake word. It sends a short snippet, the wake word itself, plus a brief pre-roll pulled from that buffer, a moment before and after, so the phrase arrives complete and clean. And third, up in the cloud, the real work happens. That's where the giant model lives, the one that actually understands language, works out what you asked, and finds your answer. But that big model does one more thing first. It double-checks the wake word. It re-listens to the snippet and asks far more carefully than the little chip ever could, was that really the wake word? And if the answer is no, if the tiny detector on the device jumped the gun, the cloud can quietly cancel the whole thing. Apple describes exactly this. The server can send back a cancellation signal if it decides you didn't really say, "Hey Siri." So there are two gates, not one. A fast little gate on the device that says, "I think I heard my name," and a careful big gate in the cloud that says, "Yes, you did." Or, "No, you didn't. Stand down." It's a doorbell, not a wiretap. It watches the doorstep for one specific knock, and only when it's sure it heard that knock does it open the door and let the big system handle the conversation. Now, step back and ask the obvious question. Why go to all this trouble? Why build a special little chip and a tiny model just to listen for one word? Why not simply stream everything to the cloud and let the big, clever computer do the listening? There are three reasons, and together, they're the reason the whole design exists. The first is power. Something that has to run every single second, day and night,
can't be a power hog, or the device would run hot, and on a phone, your battery would be dead by lunchtime. So the wake word detector is kept deliberately tiny and placed on that low-power chip, sipping barely any energy, so it can genuinely run forever. The second is speed. Checking right there on the device means it's instant. The speaker doesn't have to ship audio to a faraway server and wait for a reply just to wake up. It decides on the spot, in a fraction of a second, then opens the stream. And the third reason is privacy. And this is a big part of the privacy story, so it's worth being careful about. Because the first check happens on the device, your ordinary all-day background audio never has to leave the room. If the listening happened in the cloud instead, then everything would have to be streamed up there first, all the time, which is exactly the nightmare people picture when they imagine one of these things. Doing the wake word step locally is what avoids that. Now, I want to be honest here, because this channel doesn't do glossy reassurance. Keeping that first check on the device is a big part of why your everyday audio stays home. It is not a magic guarantee that nothing ever leaves. And in a couple of minutes, I'll show you exactly where that promise has a real asterisk on it. But the core division of labor is genuinely clever and worth holding on to. The wake word is small and local. Understanding what you actually said is huge and lives far away. The little chip's entire job is to notice its name and then hand off.
So here's the catch, and it's the real one, the one actually worth knowing. Go back to that threshold, that line the confidence score has to cross. That line is a compromise, and it can't be a perfect one. Set it too strict, and the speaker misses you. You say the wake word clearly, and it just sits there, ignoring you. Set it too loose, and it wakes up at things that merely sound a bit like the wake word. There is no setting that catches every real call and never once fires by mistake. That isn't a flaw in one brand's software. It's the fundamental nature of any detector that has to make a fast guess. And because it's a guess, it does sometimes wake up when you didn't call it. A line of dialogue from the television, a name that rhymes, a stray phrase from across the room, any of these can nudge that score over the line and the speaker wakes by mistake. How often? Well, this is where I want to be precise, because this number gets thrown around carelessly. In a study that played 134 hours of television at popular smart speakers, researchers found unintended wakes on the order of once every few hours. Now, hold on to the setup there. That's 134 hours of TV dialogue aimed right at the speakers, deliberately to try and trip them. That is not your quiet living room. It's a stress test. But it tells you the real thing clearly. Accidental wakes are not zero. They happen. And in that same study, some of those accidental snippets ran 10 seconds or more, long enough to catch a scrap of real conversation. And when a false wake happens, the device does what it always does on a wake. It lights up and it sends that snippet to the cloud, which means a clip you never meant to send can in fact get sent and can be stored. That is the honest privacy issue. And notice how much smaller and more specific it is than it records everything you say. It is not recording everything. It's occasionally mishearing its name and sending a short clip it shouldn't have. Real, but a very different thing to be worried about.
Which brings us to the thing people actually remember hearing about. The idea that humans have listened to these clips. So let's handle it properly, with the full context. Because context is the whole difference between a fact and a scare. Back in 2019, reporting revealed that Amazon, Apple, and Google had been using people, human reviewers, to listen to a small fraction of voice clips, including some accidental ones, and write down what was said. Why? To check whether the machine had understood correctly, and to make the wake word detection and the speech recognition more accurate. That's the honest reason. A human confirming, yes, the machine heard that right, or no, it got that wrong, is how you teach it to make fewer mistakes. But a lot of people had no idea it was happening, and understandably didn't love finding out. There was a real backlash. And here's the important part. Policies have changed since then. In response, Apple made its Siri review program opt-in, and Google and Amazon added ways to opt out. And that episode, back in 2019,
is precisely why every assistant now has these controls in the first place. A switch to say, don't use my recordings to improve the service, and a way to see and delete your history. So the takeaway isn't they're secretly listening to you right now. It's more useful than that. A small fraction of clips were reviewed by people back in 2019 to improve accuracy. It caused a backlash, the rules changed, and that is the reason the opt-out and delete buttons exist for you today. Which is the perfect cue to talk about those buttons, because they're more real and more powerful than most people realize.
So what can you actually do? Two things, and the first one is better than you'd expect. Every one of these speakers has a microphone off button. And here's the part most people don't know. On these devices, that button isn't just a piece of software politely promising not to listen. According to the maker's own privacy and hardware information, pressing it physically cuts the power to the microphones. It breaks the electrical circuit to them. The microphones aren't being asked nicely to stop. They're switched off at the wiring, and the device lights up a separate indicator, usually a red one, to show it. When that's on, the speaker literally cannot hear you because there's no power reaching its ears at all. That's a hardware switch, not a pinky promise, and it's the single most reliable control you have. And the second thing, your history is yours to see and to erase. You can open up the list of what your assistant has captured, listen back to it, and delete it. You can even say something like, delete what I just said. And you can switch off the setting that lets a fraction of your clips be used to improve the service, the very setting that came out of that 2019 episode. None of this asks you to trust a company's good intentions. The mute is a physical cut. The history is yours to wipe. Those two controls are the difference between feeling watched by a mystery box and knowing exactly what the machine can do and how to switch it off. So let's put the whole machine back together. Honestly, your smart speaker is not a spy with a tape recorder running. It listens all the time, yes, but it listens locally for one word, holding just a few seconds of sound that it overwrites again and again and never keeps. A tiny brain on a tiny chip watches that sound go by and throws away everything that isn't its name. Nothing is saved and nothing leaves the device until that one word crosses the line. And only then does the light come on, and a short snippet, the wake word and a moment around it, travel up to the cloud, where the big model does the real work and double checks that you even said it. That's the machine. But it's also not a sealed, perfectly private box, and I'm not going to pretend it is. Because that first check is a guess, it does sometimes mishear its name and send a clip it shouldn't have. It doesn't happen constantly, but it isn't nothing. And now you know exactly what it is and how small and specific it really is. So the honest picture is neither the scary story nor the sales pitch. It's a clever little guesser that listens for its name, forgets almost everything, slips once in a while, and hands you a physical mute button and a delete history for the moments you want the last word. That's not something to be afraid of. It's just something to understand. And now you do. Better than almost everyone who owns one. If you enjoyed taking this one apart, subscribe and stick around. Because next time, we're opening up another everyday machine you've never really looked inside. Same curiosity, brand new machine. No hype, no doom. Just how it works. See you in the next one.